Hello everyone, this is StrawberryShorty and we're back with our Bad Things playthrough of the letter. We have just started playing as Rebecca. Isabella is dead, Hannah is dead, we're pretty sure Zach is dead, Marianne is dead, so it's really just Rebecca, Ashton, and Luke for now. So let's get started. This is how it begins, or so they say. The gentle wind drifting through the wide-open windows, muffled laughters and footsteps fading behind empty hallways, and a light kiss of the afternoon sun. Soon, there will be a call, a crossing of thresholds into the unknown. Maybe we are off to some grand adventure, or diving into another gripping mystery. One can't really tell. For all I know, a hero might even come sweep me off my feet if I'm lucky.
That's not exactly a bad thing when you think about it.
But this is far from one, isn't it? A riveting tale, that is. Oh, this is before the murder. I was wondering what's happening. So we know Kylie. She's a student at our school. We're going to the mansion because Rose called us about Rebecca's fall. But Rebecca will not be here, of
Just
course.
please make sure there won't be any other mishaps, ma'am. My team would be more than happy to help you then.
You worry too much. Let me handle those things. Do be thrilled, though. I imagine it's not every day you get projects like this,
And the instant I turn my gaze on him, I see
Oh,
it.
I'm certain Mint's ecstatic, Buttercup.
Yeah, this
You
is all
heard
new.
her, love. She's busy.
Oh yeah, we're having a crisis.
Never let me do anything fun.
I guess the new dialogue is just them being a little snippy with each other. It happens without warning, forcing me to close my eyes, since she creeps into every part of me, crawling under my skin and draining me little by little of any strength. Yeah, so
You can head back to the car first if you want, Luke.
all the new text is just them being nasty
I
to
hope
each
that
other.
settles everything, Rose. I don't know what Isabel's problem is, but please make sure she doesn't hurt herself.
No promises.
Anyway, we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
Likewise, ma'am.
Sure, Isabella will be fine. So this is the stuff at the theater, which we all know we had in this playthrough. We had Isabella leave after everyone finds the letter and no one believes her. She storms off.
I'm sorry. Today's not a good day for a movie night out. I think I'll pass. Enjoy, you guys.
I don't think there's any new timeline stuff for this yet. Isabella refused to meet our eyes, Zachary's in particular. And though she smiles, it's hollow and belied by her trembling hands and drooping shoulders. I wait for another outburst from her when she drags in a breath. Anything easier to deal with than her short, wounded glances. Only it doesn't come. Instead, she stumbles back and merely walks off on us.
Isabella, wait!
Zachary's and Ashton's voices immediately follow mine. However, the swell of the afternoon crowd has already swallowed her retreating back before our words can reach her. Regardless, if they do, I don't think she'll listen either. So exasperating. And here I was thinking earlier how admirable she can be when she acts like her age. All because of one stupid piece of prank she can't let go. Despite the tense, awkward air she leaves, none of us speaks nor chases after her, even with my own frustration over the matter, even with Ashton's seeming indifference. Until Zachary's sharp exhale slices through the stiff atmosphere, and he voices out what we're likely too proud to admit given our natures.
Really, guys?
She walked out on us, Zachary. Can you believe her?
Yes, I saw. But that ain't the point here. You could have at least humored her. Toned down on the teasing for a bit.
He's such a good person. We should have made him the sole survivor. He sends Ashton a pointed look at the last one. For a moment, the latter appears about to say something in his defense, but soon drops the idea altogether. He swiftly averts his gaze with a small frown, his hand going to rub the back of his neck in an awkward gesture of comfort for himself. He knows Zachary's right in more ways than one, and this is the closest we can get to him admitting he's in the wrong, but...
You can't just tolerate that. If this is her idea of a joke, I fail to see what's so funny about it. She went overboard, Zachary. And then she goes home all upset, like we're the ones at fault here?
Cut her some slack, please. We're all aware how she felt about the mansion in the first place, yeah?
You don't really believe what's written on that paper, do you?
No, but come on, Ash. You're the detective here. You must have noticed something we didn't.
Hey, Zach, keyword detective. Police?
I wonder, you think playing as Rebecca will see her finding Isabella's body? That'd be pretty horrifying.
Dealing with supernatural shit isn't in our training manual, if that's what you're trying to get at.
I ain't. All I'm trying to say is, we all have our bad days. Give her the benefit of the doubt, okay?
She was behaving like a child, Zachary.
Ain't we all? Look, let's just hear her out next time, aight? Talk about it properly, preferably without anyone blowing a fuse.
You're too pure for this game, Zachary.
She won't be making a big deal out of this if she's in a better mood in the first place. Something else must have ticked her off at work. Just snowballed from there.
Probably not something.
A shadow passes over Ashton's eyes, his eyebrows furrowing in deep thought, but he tucks it all away before Zachary notices or I can ask about it. Catching that look on him, however brief as it is, leaves me unsettled for some reason. It's something I'm not used to seeing in him.
Someone, though.
Oh, so you did do something.
What? No! Why does it have to be me?
You tell me. You used to be so friendly with each other. Now, every time you're in the same room, all you two seem to do is ruffle each other's feathers.
Ashton wishes.
What exactly happened, Ash?
Nothing.
Alright, and you're a much better cook than Sis.
I didn't do anything. Really. You might be right, though. Something must have happened during the open house.
She told you what happened.
There was a crowd, you know? It could have easily been one of their guests. Anyway, we should stop wasting time here. What's done is done. Let's just head inside. The movie's going to start soon.
Ashton doesn't even wait as he shuffles inside, leaving Zachary and I staring after him. A diversion, if I've ever seen one. Frankly, I don't know what to make of that. Moments like these often blur the lines between those he prefers to keep at a distance and those he has opened up to. And sometimes it puts the question of how far he's willing to trust his own friends. Sure, his straight face, whenever there's something on his mind, is nothing short of impressive. For people he never bothered to let in, it's typical. No one will care, and that's exactly how he prefers it. He never did quite like the kind who meddle. But those who know him well, those who he's allowed to get close, are bound to catch on, bound to grow concerned regardless of the things he wants to keep to himself. Especially with that look on his face
What's with
earlier.
him? I was just pulling his leg.
I'm sure it's just as he says. He would have said something by now if there's anything we should be concerned about.
I mean, he's kind of oblivious.
You know how he operates.
All empty reassurances. I don't believe the words myself. In the first place, there shouldn't have been a need to make these excuses for him. But it's obvious there's something that needs to be addressed as soon as I get the chance, and it can't be in the presence of other people. Including Zachary.
Oh, all 13 of my locks know exactly how.
And don't hold it against him.
Easy for you to say. He never does that to you guys.
He knows his boundaries. And Belle would have probably hit him with that metal rolling pin she keeps, if he so much as thinks about it.
Actually, I'm almost surprised she hasn't done so yet.
A short pause, then like a switch that has been turned off, Zachary's jovial mood dies down. It doesn't take long for him to find his voice again, though the hesitance in it is apparent.
Rebecca? About Bella earlier. Could you...
Don't worry about her. Just enjoy your own movie for now. I'll check on her when I get home. Maybe I could even get the real story out of her.
That'd be great. Thanks, man. I was really hoping to watch this with all of you.
We'll get another chance. It's not like we won't be seeing each other soon. We're living in the same city, for heaven's sake.
If only she knew. I guess technically, this is probably the last time at least Zachary and maybe even Ashton see Isabella.
Touché. Anyway, you should head in too. Who knows what trouble Ash has gotten in there without us. Somebody should keep him in line.
He's a grown man. He can take care of himself for a few minutes.
And only that.
What about you?
Getting us some snacks. My treat, yeah? We've still got a few minutes to spare before they start. I'll catch up with you both soon.
All right, but don't take too long. Just bottled water for me, if you're planning to get some drinks too.
Right, gotcha.
Do you know how much bottled water costs at the movies, Rebecca? He gives my shoulder a light tap, then hurries over to the snack bar. Briefly, I allow my gaze to linger past it towards the far end of the street in the same direction Isabella took off earlier. Searching, hoping, expecting she'll simply be standing among the passing crowd, that everything's just a bluff. Perhaps there'll also be an apology ready at the tip of her tongue and a promise to be more responsible with her actions next time. But much as I will it, there's no sign of her. After that little spat, it'll be foolish to even wait at this point. So, with a sigh, I finally step inside. It's not the excited chatter that stops me once I'm in the small auditorium. Rather, it's the sheer lack of one. The hall's not completely empty, no. From where I'm standing, I can still spot a couple of heads dotting the seats, some nodding, mostly engaged in cheerful conversation before the film starts. But the absence of a bigger audience and what few murmurs floating in the air only made the room seem a lot larger than it actually is.
Surely this can't be all there is from that crowd outside.
I mean, this doesn't look like a feel-good movie. They had to close a whole street for this, didn't they? In any case, this is still just the first showing. For sure it'll have a bigger turnout in the next one. However, despite these reassurances, a pang of worry still hits me as I stride down the aisle, passing by rows after rows of empty seats in search of Ash. I don't even want to think how Zachary would feel after all the effort he put into this. Though if there's still any comfort to find here, it's that there'll be less chances of loud interruptions, particularly from theatergoers lacking manners. And the fact I'll be spending the evening with a friend. And Ashton. A familiar warmth, one I've harbored longer than anything, immediately unfurls at my stomach, in spite of myself, in spite of the reasons I've convinced myself of for being here. Naturally, those are not lies, they never are, and I'm here to give what little morale boost I can lend as a friend. But I won't deny Ashton has been a part of that too. Sometimes, you simply can't say no, and once you realize logic's no longer at play, striking a fair balance with reason becomes harder, trickier. It's not like I can simply ask myself to stop or forget for a moment, can I? It doesn't work that way, not after I've gone and loved the same person for 17 years. If only he'd look this way for once, even for a short, fleeting second, then maybe—
Okay, listen. I personally know the guy. He might be able to help. I can easily get in touch with him if you want, so...
I thought we all agree there'd be no what calls tonight. Pay up, Ash. That pizza fund box needs some cash.
All he gives for an answer is a glance and a small smile, yet it still sends the heart swirling in my stomach, rising up my cheeks. A feeling I instantly pull the reins in on as I take the empty seat next to him. Traitorous little thing, that smile. I don't think he's ever been aware of what it does to any woman who happens to catch sight of it. He wouldn't have thrown it out so casually otherwise. Then again, it's also one of the very few things he allows only the people close to him to see.
Sorry, just a sec, Becca. Hey, I gotta go? If you get this message, just let me know, okay?
Ashton, you can't be on your phone in the movies.
I'll free up my schedule if you want to check with him. No fees attached. I promise. Bye.
Fees? You're not doing anything illegal, are you?
You know me better than that.
Inspector Abigail?
Yeah. No! I am not losing that bet. Don't count on it.
Oh, come on, Ash. It's not like it's going to put a dent in your paycheck. Which one is it? Officer Carl? Officer Benjamin?
That's the receptionist.
The chief?
None of the above. And Chief hates it when I call him. Give it up.
Ash stops a moment when I hold a hand up at him, the expression on my face expecting, although a smile threatens to break through at the baffled look spreading on his own. He resembles a lost child like this. Sometimes I forget we're the same age.
What?
Mobile.
And why?
Evidence. What else? You always preach they don't lie. Put your money where your mouth is. Show.
He blinks once, then sighs. Rather loudly at that, with every intention to let the whole auditorium know how tedious he finds this little back and forth. Just the same, he raises the gadget up to my face, but before I can even read past a single letter, he swiftly slides it out of view and straight into his pocket.
It's not work. I swear by my badge.
Oh, just admit you didn't want to pay. You're a worse cheapskate than Belle.
Becca, look at me. Tell me, does this face seem like it's lying to you?
Yes.
Maybe. Here's an idea then. Why don't you find a mirror and answer that yourself?
Pass. I've seen it plenty. It still looks the same. Honestly, it's getting boring.
His voice seems loud. I swear, that's one thing about this game, the voices are weird. Some of them are like real loud.
All right, suit yourself. Just remember, I'm not the one who got caught breaking a deal we all made.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Really, Rebecca? It's not what you're thinking.
I can't follow it at all.
A friend just needed help with the problem. It's nothing big enough that I'll run off on you two. Don't worry.
It's a sign. Time to end this little banner. As fun as this chat has been, some lines he simply doesn't allow me to cross, regardless of the years we spent growing up together. Especially with the sort of work he does. Of course, that doesn't mean I haven't tried. I still do from time to time, hoping he'll at least share something more substantial than his routine, vague answers. Occasionally, he'll talk about it if we ask, but never in full detail and only stuff we need to know. In case we need to look for his dead body, he joked one time. He doesn't repeat it after a stern look from me, but it doesn't make the whole situation any less frustrating.
Where's the big guy, by the way? He can't be missing from his own premiere.
Food. Is there something you want? I could...
Nah, it's good. He'll know what to get. Frankly, I'm more worried about him. Do you think Zach's gonna be okay with this?
I don't need to follow where he directs his eyes next to know what he's talking about. I've seen it with my own, felt the exact same doubt.
I honestly don't know. I only have a small idea of how these things work, but he put a lot of effort into this. Someone will certainly notice.
He did put a chunk of his savings on it. He was hoping to start a small studio when it takes off. If it takes off.
You doubt him?
No, just concerned, I guess. As far as I know, the whole fund was initially for the studio. Space, equipment, that kind of stuff. I have no idea what suddenly came over him. He already had enough to start one on his own. Why would he use it for something else?
Inspiration.
I'm sure it'll be fine. Zachary knows what he's doing. He had me check the scripts and the research he did before he went through with this. His, personal experience with the topic also counts. I think he's onto something here.
He merely lets out another hum, only I can't figure out if it's an agreement or meant to be something else. This whole conversation dies down soon after, and a silence falls between us, a strange kind of atmosphere that teeters between tense and uncomfortable, almost to the point of awkward. Between the two of us, this rarely ever happens. We've already gone past this point as children. Yet Ashton can't seem to sit still, discreetly checking his phone every few seconds, glancing back at the entrance when he thinks no one's paying attention. Even when people have started to trickle into the room and fill some of the vacant seats, it makes the wait for Zachary all the more longer than it should be. In the thick of it, I find myself grasping for something else to talk about. Oh, so you were at the mansion? I didn't even read that. Just to calm the growing restlessness in my stomach, but in practice it's far from an easy task. Not that there's a great lack of things to chat about, quite the opposite in fact, and getting in a conversation with him is a breeze when you're already familiar with him. It just so happens that, by nature, Ashton and I are people rarely predisposed to small talk. He'll stick to his music, I'll keep to my books, as if living in a world of our own. There's a sort of understanding in it, in solitude's appeal, that only the two of us appear to grasp. Like this, we don't have to talk. The other's company is almost always enough. That's what I believed then, anyway. Until our small bubble grew to include more than just us, and little by little, we've begun to move away from that tiny, quiet sanctuary. Somehow, words have ceased to be more than just a mere option after, and picking the right one is now a necessity.
So, you were at the mansion?
A question innocent enough, yet the air changes around him almost palpably. And when his lips form a thin line and his jaw tenses, I know right away he has found the words I've chosen a huge bother to answer, if not utterly unnerving. The why confuses me, the careful tone he takes even more so. Normally, I'll back away as soon as the mood around him shifts, before his response even comes, but the change prods at that ugly little feeling I've been keeping at bay since earlier. Somehow, whatever his answer will be, feels like it will sate something more than just my curiosity.
What about it?
Oh, just wondering, I guess. It simply didn't cross my mind you'd be there, is all.
I happened to pass by.
That is a terrible lie.
Well, that's different. Your cases rarely ever take you out of Luxborn, don't they? What changed this time?
What makes you think a case is the reason why I was out there?
Don't be getting all hostile, Ash.
Maybe it's because you don't usually go out of town much. I could count on one hand the number of times you did in the past 5 years, you know.
Only 5 times, to be exact. Once on a trip to a nearby colony where his father lives. Twice to stay with Zachary's grandparents for the weekend upon their invitation, and another to attend 2 of his mom's concert performances overseas. Basically, if he thinks it doesn't concern him, he won't budge from where he's already made himself comfortable. That, and he hates going on long drives, much less on trips taking him away from the city. If he ever gives the impression of a lazy guy at first glance, well, that's exactly what he is. His little detour today, though, if it isn't for a case, then what else can it be? Really, he needs to give me more credit than that.
Anselm's hardly out of town. It's a 30-minute drive, Becca.
True, but I know you. You most certainly aren't there for a stroll or the view.
Did it even occur to you I might be checking the open house?
You hate gatherings like that.
You also can't afford a mansion.
I like them well enough when I have to.
Don't kid yourself. Why would you even need a mansion that big? You barely stay in your own flat.
Shirley needs a fancy garage?
Will you quit this sass? And I doubt Belle even invited your ass over there. You're the last person she'd ever want to see while hosting an open house.
And we can't have a garage in the mansion. Luke already asked.
You do annoy her sometimes.
But Ashton wants a helipad too.
Rebecca, Christ, why do I always have to spell everything out? I already said it. I just happened to pass by. It was after I finished some work. No one invited anyone. Isabella has got nothing to do with it. I invited myself. End of story.
What do we see in him? There's no anger in his tone. It's merely the sound of finality, of wanting to be done with this whole dumb exchange. I heard anger. But the weight it carries snaps the last line, keeping that awful feeling of my own temper in check. Oh, there comes Rebecca's jealousy. It snowballs from there. My mouth moves before any other rational thought catches up to it.
So there is a case. You don't have to keep those things from me. Just say you have one. I'm not asking you to explain anything.
Why do you even want to know if there is one in the first place? And even if there is, you know the details are always off limits.
I don't. I couldn't care less if it's a case or not, but I could stand to be answered properly instead of being given vague, mindless answers.
I'm just imagining the moviegoers sitting around them, watching, eating popcorn, just like, this is entertaining.
It's a simple yes or no question, Ash, for goodness sake.
You've known longer than anyone how I work, Rebecca. This shouldn't be surprising to you.
Ashton, in case you didn't notice, people do worry about you. Every time you're out who knows where, playing your little detective game.
I don't think he's gonna take well to it being called a little detective game. It is serious work.
Is that such a hard concept to grasp?
Well, maybe you should have said so in the first place instead of... Damn it. Just drop this, Rebecca. This isn't going anywhere.
What the bloody hell is your problem? You've been in this stupid, wretched mood since earlier. At least try to hold an actual conversation if you can't be bothered to tell why you're in such a black mood.
She is screaming in this theater.
I could say the same thing about you. Can we just move on to something else, please? I've heard enough arguments to fill my quota for the day. If we keep at it, this is going to end up worse than the one we had with Isabella.
One name. Hush overcomes me. Not because his words have completely tempered my anger. No, it's still there. Its wells churns, rages within me, waiting. Whatever else I've yet to say born from it, I hold back. All of them. Every bitter word, I leave them all unspoken, in favor of giving a quiet voice to that one tiny realization. The very same one that awful feeling has been whispering in my ears all this time.
It wasn't really because of a case, was it? You were there for something else.
Hunting vampires. Someone else.
How did you even get to that? Didn't we already establish why I was there? Why are we going back to this again?
I forget if we actually did learn why he was there. I don't think he was there for Isabel. I thought he was there because of Luke Wright.
You could have just said so. It's not like it would make a difference. In the end, she's not even here.
Wait, what the hell are you going on about this time?
I could have easily answered that one. Perhaps with a good serving of the anger he has been stewing inside me, seasoned with more venom than I'm accustomed to showing him. He's lucky Zachary chooses that moment to show up, carrying bags of popcorn on both arms and totally oblivious to what occurred. I couldn't have asked for a better moment for someone to interfere.
Sorry, Ash, they ran out of, Am I interrupting something?
A smile is the only answer I give him before I stand up and gesture for him to take the seat I've vacated. When I start speaking again, my tone is as casual as I can manage, above the struggle with my own frustration.
No harm done. We were just talking.
Really? Just talking. If this ain't a good time, we can postpone this.
Just take the damn seat, Zach.
He immediately does so, albeit awkwardly, while I flop down next to him. Poor Zachary.
Okay. Clue me in if someone's about to lose it. Just so, I can get out before anything happens.
I feel like he'd stay and try to help. And that's that. The movie starts minutes after, but for the better half of the evening, only a strained mood permeates the air between us, my own irritation winding and unwinding inside me. In the midst of it all, a single thought nudges me. Would it have been any different if Isabella were here? The rest of the evening passes by without any further event, though we don't stay long after. Some plans were made for after the movie the night before, but they're mostly Isabella's suggestions, and with her absent, there isn't much point to it, is there? We'll just have to find some other time, preferably when everyone's in a better frame of mind. Certainly not when the rest of us are this exhausted, have things nagging at the back of our minds, or this emotionally drained. The little disagreement with Ashton feels like a warning sign already, and it's not a line I'm willing to test tonight. Sometimes there are things you simply can't force. A sentiment we all likely share at the moment, if the silence before we part ways tells anything. Even Zachary seems reluctant to break it.
Well, it was fun, despite, but really, thanks for staying, you two.
Don't mention it. It's the least we can do.
Nah, I owe you both, especially you. You sure you don't want payment for all that history checking you did?
Quite sure. Oh, you know what? On second thought, just save it for when you win an award. Treat us someplace nice or something.
I doubt it'll go that far.
Oh, please. Think positive for once.
I hear you, ma'am. I hear you.
Then put some back into it.
It's really too early to say, but here's hoping, I guess. We'll see. Anyhow, I'm off. Got some new photography gig lined up in the next few days.
That's the one at the right mansion.
But just call me anytime you guys want to hang out. Sketch should be easy to free up for some R&R now. How about you, Ash? You coming with?
We both glance his way, though mine probably comes off sharper, more scrutinizing. He hasn't said a word since we left the theater, his eyes completely glued to his phone as soon as the movie ended. Typical. He doesn't even spare me a look when he slides his phone back to his pocket and answers.
Oh, yeah. I need to double check something with the guys at the precinct.
Same way then. You gonna be fine on your own, Rebecca?
My car's parked just a block away from here. It should be an easy walk.
And I have books.
But both of you should get going if you're in a hurry.
Right. Drop us a message when you get home. And that thing with Isabella, too, when you get a chance to see her. See ya.
Yeah, I will. Be careful, you two. Bye.
They leave without a backward glance, but despite my own exhaustion and the strong desire to go home, I remain on the same spot for some scant seconds still. Watching them, trying to figure out where to go from here, as if the answer can be found in their retreating backs. If Zachary hasn't mentioned Isabella again, I probably would have forgotten about his request. I would have simply left the anger to subside until we can pretend like nothing happened. When I finally crossed the street, long after they disappeared behind the evening crowd, I only have one choice in mind. She's not answering, though. I let it ring for another second more before making a swipe at the screen and dropping the call. I don't bother stopping myself from releasing a loud sigh this time. Long and weary, heavy with every frustration in my body today. By this hour, she's probably already back home, and it's very likely she has holed herself up in her apartment. Won't be surprised. She's done this before, very much like a kid throwing a tantrum.
I just don't understand her sometimes.
I don't understand why she can't get a hint, why she doesn't think she's being ridiculous. Why, of all people, we're the ones she has to play some dumb Halloween prank on. Granted, Ashton's the one who started it, but did she think it'd be a good idea to go with that story?
It makes you wonder why we're friends, but here we are.
Now I'm left to fix things after her. If I'm gonna be honest, not having her around for a few hours today is a welcome break. Peace and quiet is one thing you'll rarely get with her around. Yet the silence and lack of her presence is nowhere near comforting. It merely lends the air this strange clarity, every little sound, every single movement more palpable. With it comes the unease. It hasn't really left me this afternoon, and against everything I wished for today, I found myself yearning for an interruption and dial her number again. As frustrating as today is, I can also use a friendly voice. It rings for a good minute or two, until just when I'm beginning to think she's not going to answer this either, the line picks up.
Belle, hey! Just checking on you. I'm on my way home. Is there something you want me to pick up for you? You probably skipped dinner, didn't you? Don't worry, that diner a block away is still open. Want me to buy you anything from there? Isabella?
A jolt of surprise hits me, and in the resulting panic, I accidentally dislodge my mobile from its seat on the dashboard. Soon I'm scrambling blindly for it with my other hand while keeping a steady eye on the road ahead. Although muffled heavily by the silence, a voice still crackles from the loudspeakers before I can put it back. My temper rises.
What's this? Some sort of practical joke?
That scream was loud.
Isabella, if you think this is funny...
My hand stops set for a moment. I spare the device a brief glance, waiting. Seconds pass. Nothing happens, though. Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm expecting, but the lines in my mouth form into a frown regardless.
Isabella? Is everything all right over there?
You didn't say me. I have to make a conscious effort not to panic right then and there, although my tight hold on the steering wheel tells a different story altogether. Well, she can't be dying at this point, because we go to her with food.
Isabella? Belle? Hey, Belle. What happened?
Only a burst of static answers me, and maybe this lapse is entirely because of exhaustion. It has been a long day, and I haven't fully recovered from last week's bout of flu, contrary to what I've been telling people. Though perhaps, had I paid closer attention to it, and I not been so occupied with other thoughts, I probably would have noticed earlier that it never came from my phone, from somewhere right behind me. You shouldn't say please. Ugh. I'm supposed to do a crawl. Looking up is a mistake. First thing I see is a face, ghastly shade, every inch battered, bruised, and bloodied. Even in the darkness and the world passing by in a blur of lights outside, I can still make out the wounds. Blood still oozes from them, little trails of crimson running down her face, glistening under what little light there is. But it is the gleam in its eyes that catches mine, the quiet plea, the anguish, and the desperation in them, more than its hideous features and the awful stench of gore now soaking the air. And try as I might, I can't bring myself to look away, even as its lips contort into a horrific smile, even as a sharp, harsh noise pierces the air and the silence around us. Against everything I've been taught, and I'm constantly reminding myself, I close my eyes. It's a brief moment, a short, vivid second of muscle memory and instinct completely taking over. And if I didn't allow it, if my hands didn't move or my feet didn't hit the brakes in that exact second, I might have... No. Shake the notion away before I lose myself in it. Right now, it's an ugly line of thought I refuse to venture into. That when breathing is a struggle and every ounce of strength has been totally drained from my body. Most definitely not while the sound of screeching tires still rings in my ears. I'm alive, I'm safe. That's all that matters. But it is not my face that I look for when I finally open my eyes. All gone. I expected stains, little telling marks and creases on the covers to show me where it sat not a moment, not a second ago. But whatever it is, it left not a single trace. And though courage is a hard thing to gather at this point, I take what little of it remains in me and turn towards the back seat. Even then, there's none. Was there really something in there? With how empty it is, I'm beginning to doubt it. This stupid flu again.
I need a long rest after this.
My hands fall uselessly to my sides, numb from how taut my grip on the wheel has gone. It's still trembling from the unexpected rush of adrenaline. Against my ears, my heart still pounds in an erratic rhythm, and my breathing hasn't slowed down. The world has already righted itself without waiting for me, and little by little, second after second, I sit here, motionless color begins to seep back around me, along with our sounds and a voice, no longer indistinct as it was earlier.
Becca, how do you... Press this button. You've already started recording.
Her voicemail.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Let's see. Hello there. Isabella Santos here. Sorry you missed me. Just leave a message after the beep, and I'll get back to you soon. Thank you. Shut up, Ashton.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
I can hear you thinking about it. Zach,
The recording is old, made early in our friendship, roughly 3 or 4 years ago probably. I can't remember now. I kinda expected to hear something breaking. I'm more surprised Isabel kept this when she could have easily replaced it. But then again, little things like this, no matter how imperfect they may seem, are what made her the happiest. A fond smile slips into my lips before I know it. I allow it, despite the headache already forming at the sides of my head and every negative thought still swimming inside. When at last I speak, my tone is as light as it can be.
Hey, Belle. I know you're in there. I'm on my way home. If you need anything, send me a message ASAP. I'll see if I can still get it for you. You've got 15 minutes. And, if there's something you want to talk about, let me know, okay? Bye.
The phone call ends with a faint click and a pensive mood washes over me. With it comes a small truth. Her stay has always been meant to be something fleeting. Earn some good money, go home. It's what she'd tell herself during her first year here. Now, half a decade later, I'm not sure she still believes that. Even I'm not sure if I still believe it. And with these ill feelings I carry with me, I'm more inclined to think there's something in her reasons that has changed along the way. They're merely hunches, but it's something I'd rather not bring up, because I'm almost too afraid of what her answer will be. Science is far from her pleasant company for the rest of my night. I hope they don't make us sit through that entire conversation with her and Isabel again. Rebecca and Ashton were seen chatting while waiting for the movie start. What could have been a nice moment turned sour when the two ended up having an argument. On our way back home, Rebecca glimpsed something suspicious sitting at the back of her car. But it's a respite all the same, from an overactive imagination playing tricks on a fluid mind, and from smiles never meant for my eyes. All of them I abandoned, if only for a brief moment. Begins normally enough.
Isabella, I don't have time for this! Open up!
Whereas Norma shouting outside her room could get this early in the evening. On a Monday, no less. This isn't how I want to start my week, but here I am trying not to make a fool of myself in front of anyone who happens to pass by. Not even sure if our landlady's home yet, and I sure hope not. She won't like this ruckus. But it's not like we haven't had an argument before. We have, plenty of times. There's that one time with the groceries, and another that has something to do with the mess in her room. Something that has to do with my eating habits or her eating habits. There's also the one in the movie house a few days ago, but that one got resolved pretty uneventfully. Or so I'd like to believe. She seemed to be in a good mood when she asked us all out for that little celebratory treat. Was she dead now? Our journal. I forgot what date it is. The 24th, maybe? I think she dies on the 24th. What date is it? Does it say? I don't think it will say. Wait, gonna check the backlog. I don't know what day it is. Oh well. Anyway, the point is, we didn't go through 5 years worth of being friends without having a little argument here and there. I mean, it would suck if she found the body alone. Granted, it can get pretty petty at times, but none of them has pushed either of us to end this friendship. Yet. Although most of them does end up with her sulking in her room until I pull her out of it. A child through and through. This morning, however...
You're still not going to believe me, even if someone else already died, no?
There really comes a point when you need to smack some sense into people. It's murder, the authorities said so, and yet she's still going on about the Halloween prank like it's the bloody letters fault.
It's a piece of paper, Isabella! What can a piece of paper do? Give you a paper cut?
Paper cuts hurt Rebecca.
I swear, you can be so frustrating at times!
I know Rose is a close friend to her, but she's doing her death a huge disservice by being like this. Taking out my mobile, I dial her number, and sure enough, her own rings out from the other side of the door. I don't hang up in case something possesses her to answer, or she's just sleeping. But I've been going at this for 15 minutes now. She didn't hear me after that. She sure as hell is ignoring me. On purpose!
Isabella, I know you're in there! Can you please stop this nonsense? You're acting worse than my students when they're throwing a tantrum. You're not a kid anymore!
For all this worry they have about, the noise, like, you could have just gone in her room instead of knocking. A minute, and another. Then I'm ending the call while fishing out a copy of her key from my bag and unlocking the door. She lent it years ago after I complained about the mess and offered my help in cleaning up. I thought the gesture was completely unnecessary then. After all, I could always knock. But she never did bother taking them from me, always returning it or turning away from the conversation whenever I insist. At one point, I simply stopped trying to hand it back to her. Good thing I did. Now her stubbornness is coming in handy. For once, she did something right. Miracle of miracles, isn't it?
Isabella, I'm coming in and we are going to talk!
Oh, this is gonna get ugly. Without waiting for her answer, I push the door open and march inside. Save the game. Just putting on some chapstick in preparation for the horror. No, no one's here, it's fine. Her lights are off. Although the telly is running, it merely gives the room a dim glow. Dimmer than it used to be, in fact, mainly due to its age. She bought that set from a secondhand store nearby. It has been with her ever since she started living here, though she doesn't really watch anything on it. Even on weekends, she doesn't seem to have any use for it. It's always on. Just for background noise, so the place wouldn't be as quiet if she's working at home. She told me before how she misses the clamor of the city, and here in Salem, well, it's just quiet everywhere. But I thought they also said that she doesn't typically, like, you know, she doesn't typically, like, keep it on because of, like, the cable bill. That silence bothered her more than anything new and unfamiliar she encountered in her first year here. If the rent isn't cheap, she probably would have moved away already. Wasn't cheap. It's an odd side of hers, but there are worse ones.
Like when she's moping.
I found her sitting at her work desk, bent over the mess of papers and folders littering the top, nose almost touching the paper she's working on. Like, she can't... Like, this seems like she should be dead, because we never saw this moment. But if she is dead, shouldn't there be help me all over the walls? On one end, I can make out the silhouette of a stack of empty noodle cups, but I fight the unexpected urge to wrinkle my nose at the sight. Would it be an unexpected urge? Her cleaning habits are also the least of my concerns right now. I can reprimand her later for them. First, we talk and put an end to those silly misconceptions she's been feeding her mind.
We need to talk about this letter nonsense.
She doesn't answer. She doesn't move. This really seems like they're going to her death, but there's no blood. She's giving me the silent treatment because I won't buy her little horror story. Just the thought of it irks me and prods at my already short temper. And with each second that passes, it grows ever shorter.
Isabella, I know you're busy. I'll let you go back to your work once we sort this out. You can't keep going on like this.
Still no response, and slowly frustration begins to seep into my tone.
Why must you always be so difficult?
Then anger.
I'm telling you to listen to me. Oh, will you face me? I'm talking to you, Isabella.
Without warning, I've given her an ample number of those. I'm marching across the room, each of my stride, brisk and heavy with purpose, when... It's not stepping on the apparent wet mess that forces my whole body to freeze. Rather, it's the sudden smell permeating the air. Bitter, sharp, thick enough that I could almost taste it. My hand hastily goes to cover my nose, but even then, the acrid smell still reeks. Like the smell of iron reacting to the skin when rubbed. That a well-known smell? Like blood. My gaze shifts to Isabella's back, head still bent over her table, unmoving. In this light, I can't get a good look at her, but I know for sure she won't simply leave a puddle here, not when she's working on papers that she could accidentally spill on. Yeah, if they're trying to do the too dark angle, I could use some actual darkness. A puddle of what, though? I don't want to make any hasty judgments yet, despite what my mind screams at me. Could be anything. There could be a leak somewhere or whatever. But despite what I tell myself, fear easily worms its way to my voice when I call out to her again.
Isabella?
Something heavy lodges itself in my throat.
Belle?
Sound of my heartbeat thrashes against my ears.
Belle? Answer me! Please!
With a trembling hand, I reach for her shoulder, and gently as I can, I turn her around. Oh, she's in a wooden chair. Oh, jeez. My heart stops. Oh, look, it's moving! This is horrifying! A chill runs down my spine. Every edge, every corner of the room suddenly goes sharp. I can't breathe, and before I know it, my horrified scream ripples through the air. These are the meat grinder, that's terrible. Angry and fuming about her friend's behavior lately, Rebecca decided it was time to have a long talk. Upon entering Isabella's apartment, though, something seemed very, very wrong. A few hours afterwards, the whole place dissolved into chaos. Nameless people in white suits moving in and out of the room, fellow tenants crowding the nearby hallway to get a glimpse of whatever's inside, paramedics and police officers trying to corral a growing group downstairs. At some point, nosy journalists have started flocking in, likely for a scoop. Because it is a scoop, no matter how much I want all of them to stay away. To not look at her.
Not like this. That isn't how you should see her.
It's a commotion, but amidst the ambulance's bright flashing lights, the murmurs of the curious bystanders, barely any of it registers. Hell, I can hardly remember anything when the landlady pulls me out of the room. I don't feel her hand against my shoulders as she ushers me out. I don't hear her muttered reassurances. Is it a gentle touch of comfort? How does her voice sound? They all come out empty, each and every one of them falling hollow on my deafened ears. Because she's gone. She's gone. Yet I can't even bring myself to shed a single tear. Much as I will myself, no matter how much I repeat the words in my head, none of it will come out.
What's wrong with me?
We're friends, aren't we? I should be crying. If not, I should be angry at whoever did this to her. Anything. Anything better than this cold, empty feeling at the bottom of my stomach. Anything better than standing around her like a useless numpty that I am. Watching all these people zip by and examine her like she's just some other victim.
Female, around 20 to 25 years old.
She's 26, CSI.
Time of death must be less than 5 or 6 hours ago.
Impersonal.
Cause still unknown.
Everything about her now broken down to ruthless statistics. She has a name, damn it. She has friends here. She has a family waiting for her back home. Someone, please.
Crime scene?
Second floor, sir. Just upstairs.
Oh, it's Ashton.
Second room after the stairs.
Ashton?
Hold on a sec. Did you say second room after the stairs?
So Ashton is just gonna find
Exactly what I said, sir. CSM should be there to brief you further on the scene. But, if I may, Inspector, you really don't want to see the body right now. Inspector Abigail had to excuse herself for a while after, you know.
I'll be the judge of that. Thanks.
His voice drifting from stairs below falls like a splash of cool water on me. Somehow, at the familiar tone of it, the world is suddenly tilted sideways, has righted itself. Every color, every sound rushes back in, and my head immediately snaps up in search of him. Another officer stops him upon reaching the floor, but a quick show of his badge is enough for them to allow him in. He doesn't waste any time. Ash quickly makes a beeline for the room and passes by where I'm standing without so much as a glance. He doesn't seem to have noticed me. His steps are even and sure as he walks by, his jaw clenched in a tight line, a complete departure from the easygoing air he gives off when he's with us. Like this, it's hard to think of that Ashton and the one in front of me as the same person. But a worried creases on his forehead, a stiffness on the lines of his shoulders. And I know the moment that expression is on him that the news should not have come from some crime scene manager. I should say something. I need to say something. Call out to him. Stop him. Because more than anyone, he shouldn't be the one taking on this case. He may be someone who will understand how I feel about this, who knew the kind of person Isabella was. But will he be able to go at this with the same passive indifference his associates have? Of course, I'd never doubt his capability. That's a given, and he's already proven that more than once. But this may not be easy for him. What should I do? How should I even put it? Well, we're going bad, so... what do we do? Stop him? There we go. My arm moves before I can think twice on it, closing a hand around his elbow and clutching onto it tightly like a lifeline. Naturally, it startles him, but his confusion quickly melts away to something softer when he recognizes me. Still, he assumes a reprimanding tone, and suddenly I'm not sure if this is a good idea anymore.
Becca, I've got to...
Don't go in there!
Easier said than done. It's all on his face when he averts his gaze and promptly untangles my fingers from his arm.
I have to. I'm on duty, Becca.
I'm aware of that, but please, just this time, don't go in there.
You know I can't do that.
There are other officers here who can handle this. Why can't you sit this out for once? You don't have to go in there. They don't know her. It'll be better if they...
The tight set in his jaw's back when he gently pushes me away, his hand gripping both my shoulders, more firmly, more strained than he ever did before. It makes me doubt if he himself believes what he says next.
That's precisely why I have to be the one on this.
Ash, I saw her with my own eyes. Shouldn't that be enough?
Stop this, Rebecca. This could get you in trouble with the law.
Wow, he's being a real jerk. First to Zachary, now to Rebecca.
Stay here. I'll be back.
Look, I feel like I could punch you right now and the law would just be like, you know what, he deserved that. His tone leaves no room for argument. I see the moment he tucks it all away, his apprehension, the growing anxiety in his stomach, even the part of himself he showed us so openly before. The friendly, easygoing Ash. He hides it all, builds an even thicker wall around it. He crosses the police tape without looking back and walks into the room an entirely different person. And from my place in the doorway, I witness all of it. How he never flinches nor gags at the smell of blood. How he studies and takes everything in with a straight face. How he's boisterous from inside the room every time he asks a question in a tone even and collected. How he checks the victim's, Isabella's, lifeless body without batting an eye, going about his work as if nothing ever happened at all. As if this isn't someone he knew personally.
Doesn't this faze you at all?
Before long, Ashton goes back out to the hallway, still with the same impassive look on him. He waves someone over. Another officer, forensics, paramedic. After witnessing that, everything has become a daze for me. The next thing I know, someone's draping a blanket over my shoulders.
Make sure she's okay and calm enough before they start taking your statement.
I don't protest when the medic starts leading me downstairs. She's speaking in hushed tones about an ambulance, though I don't understand much from it. But there's a thump. Muffled. Dull. Enough for me to miss it had I not looked back, and the sight that greets me upon doing so is what leaves a mark in my memory before descending the stairs. There, Ashton stands with his back turned away from me, his shoulders shaking, a fist clenched firmly against the wall. Clutched tightly on his other hand is a phone, red, old by today's standards. Isabella's. From its speakers rings a last message she probably never bothered to listen to, as well as a familiar voice.
Okay, listen. I personally know the guy. He might be able to help. I can easily get in touch with him if you want, so...
I thought we all agree there'd be no what calls tonight. Hey up, Ash. That pizza fun box needs some cash.
Oh, so that was what they were talking about.
Sorry, just a sec, Becca. Hey, I gotta go. If you get this message, just let me know, okay? I'll free my sketch if you want to check with him. No fees attached. I promise. Bye.
And just like that, I have my answer. Does this faze him? No. He's worked plenty of cases before this one. He's got almost a decade of experience on that. Nothing's new in dealing with a dead body for him. But it hurts him. This hurts him more than anything. We're just gonna destroy all these people? I wonder when we'll learn about what happened to Zachary. Detective Inspector Ashton Frey arrived at the crime scene to find Rebecca in a daze. After a brief talk, at the inspector's orders, a paramedic pulled her away to help her calm down before her witness statement was taken. Things are less busy when the paramedic guides me downstairs. By this time, the entire flat complex has been sealed off from any outsiders, though a considerable number of people have already flocked in front of the building. Reporters, gossips, onlookers. The size of them will probably grow until the important-looking officers clear out from the area. Joy of joys. On the far side of the parking lot, a few officers interview some of the tenants, particularly the ones living closer to us. Some of them offer me pitying looks when I pass by, all of which I do my best to ignore. I don't need them. Even the sympathetic smile the medic shoots my way, I return with less enthusiasm. She is, however, kind enough to escort me to get wherever I need. The investigators will be closing off the premises while the forensics gather evidence, she informs me. And all of the things to cross my mind first.
My mail.
Instead of any basic necessities someone in their right mind would think of first. Ridiculous. And she doesn't say anything, simply nods and tells me to lead the way. For that, I'm grateful. Sometimes the silence is enough, and sometimes familiar sounds are enough. Even something as simple as the creaking of an old mailbox once I pull its lid down, and the shuffling of paper against my fingertips as I go through today's mail.
Bills. Brochures. A letter for Mom and Dad.
Something for
I should
Isabella.
probably call them. Let them know.
Where are we getting mail for Isabella?
And another one of Isabella's mail wound up in my mailbox. I should probably give this.
My hand tenses, fingers lightly tracing her name, printed in bold letters at the top left area of the envelope. This will never reach her now. She'll never be able to read this now. A breathless chuckle, a ragged breath, a trembling hand over my mouth. Then, for the first time tonight, tears well up from deep within. She's gone. The following morning arrives unlike any other day before it, glaringly bright and clear. The fact that it comes with an extra helping of the unusual October weather doesn't help either. Although I appreciate catching a glimpse of an unclouded sky after last week's bout of sickness, the sun is simply shining a little too much today, considering how the world has completely tilted on its axis last night. Too warm, too cheerful, a stark reminder of her, of the kind of person she is. She was.
That'll take some getting used to.
Everything will take some getting used to. Maybe it might have helped more if her name isn't already on every imaginable local broadsheet and news program, if everything around me doesn't evoke a memory or two. That isn't how this usually works, is it? Easing into these thoughts, learning to go through a day without an entire person that always used to be there. 5 years may be fleeting, but it's enough time for someone to grow on you, enough time for them to be a significant part of anyone's lives. And it's not just mine, but Ashton's and Zachary's as well. Bloody hell. A fistfight almost broke out between those two just because of this whole thing. Neither was at fault, of course. The emotions were high at the time. They seemed to still be on speaking terms when I left, but...
I wonder if those two are going to be okay.
I suppose this is all part of the coping thing. A mess happens, we are left to pick up the pieces after, and not everything is going to be pleasant. It's always about making do with what you have, and if that means getting stuck staying at an inn while the police finish off their investigation, there's nothing I can do about that now. Luckily, the nearby cafe's manager is also kind enough to offer me a space where I can temporarily put the sudden mess that is my life in proper order. I've been sitting here for a few hours now. The manager gave me at the table at the far end corner of the shop, and for the most part, I was left alone. She wanted something to do about that as well, which I am also thankful for. Were it not for her, what's left of my morning and the rest of my afternoon might not have gone as uneventful as it did. By sunset, I've already downed a few cups of coffee, and for I'm sinker ready, I'll be taking a leave of absence today, and have finished much of the tasks I've got scheduled. Still pretty productive when everything's taken into account. All that's left for me to do is deal with the mail, specifically the letter addressed from Mom and Da, and the call I have to make because of it. I've been ignoring it the whole day, putting it off for one reason or another, worried, afraid of what they'll hear in my voice after last night. Of course, it's not like I'm not used to being caught in situations like this or having to deliver news while feeling under the weather. This isn't the first time, after all. Over the years, this has become sort of tradition, because their time in the academe naturally brought with it connections. People from other fields, along with the occasional invitations to parties or some gatherings. Though this one gives off a much more personal vibe. Letters like this usually come from old students, people who've grown fond of my parents, and they in turn treat like children of their own. Only met a few of them, most have moved on because they're successful in their chosen careers, and little letters like this are their way of expressing gratitude. It's the same letter. So we're calling in to let mail go.
Hi, Mum. How's the conference going?
Well enough. Until your da sprained his...
Oh no, is it bad?
I'm alright. In case anyone in this family cares to listen, I'm alright. Very much alive, darling.
And there you have it. He'll be up and walking in a few weeks, don't worry. We're going to have to extend our stay here until it heals, though.
Is it really treating it like a new conversation just because we're on a new location?
Nothing big. Just that mail arrived for you. I got it last night, but things happened.
Lie. Thankfully, she doesn't notice. Although, if I'm going to be honest, a small part of me yearns for her to do so and ask me about it, but I put down that idea almost as soon as it surfaces. I shouldn't make them fret. They're busy.
What does it say?
Raise your glasses.
Becca Manor.
You are gorgeous. From,
Yeah, Hana invented them.
She also wrote you a note, and that...
Evans? Oh, honey!
Didn't she get married a few years...
Yeah, but
we did? What is it about
She sent another back.
This from...
Oh, that I guess...
I could go in your...
Are you sure?
The event will be in... It's alright.
I see!
Mom! But if not...
Okay. I can always bring Isabella with me, is what I'd say. What I've gotten the habit of saying recently. Turns out I'm going to have to grow out of that sooner than expected. Hastily, I correct myself before they noted anything I miss in my tone.
I can always go alone. I'm a big girl now. I can handle these things. This isn't too much of a big deal.
Okay, if it's not going to be a big problem for you, I don't see why not. We owe you this one, darling.
No problem, Mum. I'll even say hi to Hana for you.
Please do. And let her know we'd love to see her once we're back in the city. Leave her a number or something.
I will.
But you know, the two of you would have become really good friends. Don't you remember? You met with her once. If my memory serves me right, you were 12 then?
This too, I can't recall. Yeesh.
Don't push yourself too hard, darling. Really? If still...
Oh, we'll see.
I'm looking...
We'll do. Bye.
Yeah, sorry to skip all this, but despite what the thing is selling us, we did witness this before. It's just the phone call about the party. Soon I'm leaning forward on the table, cushioning my head against my arms and closing my eyes. Last sound I hear is the news, the same headline from this morning.
The authorities are still trying to find the cause of death for all the victims. Early investigation revealed most of them were employed under Briar Realty Corporation at the time of death. Meanwhile, BRC has refused to comment on this.
Before I drift off to sleep. Something reeks. A heavy, festering scent clinging to the air, wrapping itself around me like little tendrils I'm unable to shake off. Like fingers curling around my neck, twisting and winding. I can almost taste it in my mouth. At my feet, water laps against my ankles, and with every step, every ripple created, the stench only grows stronger. But I push on, pulled further by an indistinct voice in the distance.
No, I'm not at the office! Never mind! We're not safe! Not anywhere!
The clutter that greets me inside is familiar. The empty noodle cup stacked on one end, yet to be disposed of for some mundane reason. The pile of clothes to be pressed and folded, she'll get to it later, she promised. Files and papers strewn about the limited space she has, all because she needs to take her work home sometimes.
You didn't see what's in her room! That's not something I'd what other human being would do. Come on, Rebecca! You have to believe me this time!
It's stronger here, the smell. More suffocating, more invading. But there at the far corner, she sits, bent over the mess littering the top of her work desk, nose almost touching the papers on it. I call out to her, once, twice, my voice only brimming with anger and frustration.
You're still not going to believe me, even if someone else already died, no?
She does not respond. Something heavy lodges itself in my throat. The sound of my heartbeat thrashes against my ears. With a trembling hand, I reach for her shoulder, and gently as I can, I turn her around.
No. No. I'm sorry. Wake up. Please. Wake up.
I wake up with a gasp, with my heart hammering against my chest and my lungs threatening to strain themselves from the sheer force of breathing.
Stop thinking about it, Becca.
It takes a while before reality once again sets in, for me to remember where I am. Here, there's none of that clutter. No unkept bed she keeps forgetting to put in order, no papers littering every other surface my eyes can reach, no clothes left in a jumbled pile somewhere, no empty instant noodle cups I used to remind her to clean up every other day, only tables carefully laid out for the customers, the soundless whir of the ceiling fans above, the murmurs of people dining in, and the strong fragrance of coffee and freshly baked pastries. A sense of sharp relief overcomes me and a long-held breath escapes.
It'll pass. This'll pass.
Close by, I can sense the manager eyeing me with a concerned glance. Beside her, the night shift guy at the counter is doing the same thing, his eyes darting from the telly in their kitchen and me. I brush it all away with a wave of my hand and start gathering my things. I am out the door and into the busy Luxbourne night streets before they begin asking questions, before yesterday's ghost can catch up to me. And yet I end up back here. It's quiet now. From where I stand on the opposite side of the street, only the forensics and the scene investigators are moving in and out of the place. There are a few onlookers sure, but none of them dare come close unlike the last time. Some reporters are still asking the one-on-duty questions, jotting down notes from time to time, taking curious glances around. But otherwise, everything's peaceful in the area despite the hubbub this morning. If I squint, I can probably pretend things have gone back to normal after a day. However, until now, the memories are fresh. Even the smell of blood seems to linger in the air, holding on to it, clinging like a bitter reminder of what we lost in a single night. Crivens, the smell has yet to wash out from my hands. I've tried, burned through a whole bottle of soap at the inn, only for the scent to last no more than a few hours. But then, there are the images. That single instant when I touched her shoulders, the lifeless look in her eyes when her head bobbed backwards and her arms fell lifelessly to her sides. However, more than that, more than I care to confess, is the guilt, and it feels more real than the scent or the memories. We fought that morning, outright shouted at each other.
Would it have changed anything if we didn't?
If I had treated her ideas, real or not, with less harshness, would anything have changed?
Would she still be here?
I guess I'll never know now. I let out another sigh. Another reprieve from what's weighing down on me, one of the many I've been allowed to slip out from my mouth lately. In a few days, they'll finally allow us back here to return to our lives, and for those who are left behind, to begin the process of mending. But then, will accepting be a little easier? I'd like to believe so. Suddenly exhausted, I begin my walk back to my temporary home, where I can pretend this all never happened before reality kicks in again. But short of crossing the street, a voice rings out, cutting through the thick silence, stopping me in my tracks.
Wait, Chief, no!
Frey, listen first.
You're in on this, aren't you?
Watch your tone, Frey. This isn't up for discussion.
A closer look reveals 3 people standing near a police mobile. One of them is Ashton and LPD's chief inspector. The mobile blocks my view of the third person, but judging from the voice alone, it's Inspector Abigail. It appears to be some kind of regular police talk, but with the tone and how loud they're all speaking, it's close to brewing into a full-blown argument. Ashton in particular looks as if he wants to punch something. Or someone.
I was assigned here, Chief.
And might I remind you again, I can very well reassign you someplace else if you don't listen. Much less keep yourself in check.
I heard you the first time. I just don't see why there's a need for this. I'm doing my job, aren't I?
Of course you don't see it. Should I give you a quick briefing? You snapped at a grand total of 5 people today. 5! Record-breaking, really, when it was at 0 before. That doesn't count the ones from the forensics company, by the way.
No one's asking, Abigail.
Have you taken a look at yourself since this morning? I think Officer Carl might be a little afraid of you now, in fact. First time you lashed out on him like that. Actually, that was the first time we ever heard you lash out at anyone, and I must admit that was quite a show while it lasted.
I did not lash out at Officer Carl, or anyone. Stop exaggerating things.
Oh, do you want to bet on that? Because I'm in serious need of cash right now.
Christ, Abigail, I already told you it was just...
Or is it because of the victim? I heard you were friends with her, but this is getting a bit out of hand for a friend, don't you think?
Wow, these people are nasty. Is this where Ashton gets it from?
Is there something you're not telling us?
Yeah, how could you be this upset over just a friend dying? He falters into silence, a pained expression falls across his face as his hand clenched into fists. It doesn't last, but in that short second I caught a glimpse of what he's been thinking, what's been going through his mind the entire time. Just like the night before and the last glimpse of him with his back turned against me. But to see it up close, so openly displayed in front of other people, is an entirely different thing. He's never wanted to let his walls down like that. Now it's falling apart piece by piece without his meaning to.
That's none of your business.
Oh, no, it is my business, all right? I'm the one running this investigation, and you know how I do everything. This one most certainly does not have a place for young detectives with a bloody temper. You better stand down, hotshot, or I'm kicking you out with or without Chief here. My crime scene, my rules.
I don't have a fucking bloody temper. Will you give it a rest already?
Enough! Frey, get out of here. Take a chill pill. I don't need someone reckless running around this crime scene right now.
Chief, you can't be serious.
I am, I can, and I just did. Go on, out of this place, out of my sight.
I'm in the middle of...
Pass it to Abigail. All of it. She'll handle this for now until, I don't know. Till your head's back in its proper place.
No, you can't just...
Frey, this is an order. Take a bloody chill pill. Or go get some coffee, ice cream, whatever it is you like to eat. I don't care, as long as you clear your head. Come back when you've stopped looking like you want to dismember the person next to you. Is that clear?
Chief, please, not this case.
I asked, did I make myself clear, Detective Inspector?
Another pause. This one far heavier than the previous and bears the weight of his complete resignation on the matter. He doesn't look them in the eye when he answers, nor does his tone carry any of his frustrations. But his wall is back.
Loud and clear.
I did not hear you.
These people are jerks.
Loud and clear, sir.
Good kid. Off you go. I don't want to see your pretty mug here in the next few hours. You're dismissed.
Doesn't even seem like they're actually kicking him off the case, though, so much as just, like, go take a breath.
Yes, sir.
Except this time it has been rebuilt in the wrong place at the wrong time for an entirely different reason. Knowing him, when it's like this, it will not...
Don't worry about missing out on anything. I'll keep you updated once you return, all right? Take a break for now. You haven't slept since last night.
Thanks.
They leave him after with a pat to the back and nothing else. After insulting him over the fact that he was upset over his dead friend. After a restless night, a brief talk with her parents about the housewarming party invitation, and a failed attempt at going back to her normal routine, Rebecca returned to Salemwell. There she overheard a conversation between Ashton, Inspector Abigail, and the Chief Inspector. Hey look! She gets a drawing. She doesn't get a sprite, she gets a drawing. But anger and frustration together are cold, ugly things to carry, much less to swallow. For someone like Ashton, coping with it is a whole different uphill climb. He is not the kind that fades away with time nor easily forgotten. It's the sort that keeps close, allows to fester, and drive him. But when that doesn't work, when all of what keeps his mind occupied is taken from him, he's nothing but lost. That anger, too, loses its direction. So he fumes, stalks off to someplace where he can be alone, where he can find something to vent it out, where people won't see more of him beyond what he chooses to show. If that doesn't work either, he'll go back to the first step and do everything all again. All until everything becomes a vicious cycle and it eats him whole, changes him entirely as a person. He hates it when people meddle, he hates it more when people see him like this. But this isn't something he has to carry alone. This too is ours to bear. I won't let him suffer this alone. With that in mind, I follow after him. So we're gonna end this part here because it's already been over an hour. That was an episode, man. Isabel's body was pretty freaky. We'd seen pictures of it before, but I feel bad for Rebecca and Zachary. And a little bit for Ashton too, even though he's being kind of a jerk. And all the cops in this are being jerks. But, you know, leave a comment. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. Bye!